And we're rolling.
Okay, call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting for February 28, 2023. I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise.
May begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
Thank you.
Amen.
Adam, you call roll.
Captain Malak.
Here.
Captain Mall is out on a training assignment. Captain Christian.
Here.
Committee member Greenwald.
Here.
Committee member Rober is at a training in Oregon. Committee member Bercuda.
Here.
Vice Chair Hightower.
Present.
And Chair Leffler.
Here. Okay, with that, though, we're going to delay this special presentation by the prepared group, and because Adam has to leave and go to the finance meeting here in an hour. So we're going to move up the recreational vehicle ordinance. Last city council meeting, the council wanted some clarity and possibly some strategies on dealing with the increasing RV parking, overnight parking issue here. And so they sent it off to us, and we have it on our agenda. I know Adam sent a packet out with a lot of information on ordinances in Seal Beach, Carlsbad, Oceanside, Sunset Beach, Laguna Beach, whatever there. And so I was looking at those, and they were all very good, but the wording, a lot of it was confusing as to what an RV was, and they had 22 feet and 7 feet high. So I looked at the Dana Point ordinance, which Adam put into the packet late. And if anybody who didn't get that, I have that there if you guys want to take a look. I know Chief Christian is adeptly familiar with this ordinance, and so.
I did a point.
So anyway, it seems to be a really good ordinance. The wording is clear. It mirrors ours that we have already in a lot of ways. It defines what an RV is. It talks about, yes, you can park in front of your own house. Extended period of time, you just get a permit from the city. I think that's a great thing. And then it talks about the overnight portion of it and what we can do. I think it keeps it real simple. And also what I like about it is Dana Point is our neighboring city. They are patrolled by OCSD the same way we are. If anybody ever responded down here, that when our guys get tied up, it's going to be Dana Point, or San Juan's going to be the first ones down there. It just seems like for familiarity, it looks like a really good ordinance. It covers about everything I think that the city council wants. The only other thing that was in the agenda that they were interested in was the overnight camping in a vehicle, or in any vehicle, not just an RV, but just camping overnight in your car. City of San Clemente already has an ordinance that addresses that, and it's very similar to all the other cities that we looked at. So I think that stays in place, but certainly open for discussion. But I think that it seems like this would be just a good ordinance to have staff take and review, and if it seems like it meets all the San Clemente guidelines, that then they forward on for recommendation to the city council. So with that, open to any discussion. Yes.
Captain, what do you think?
I think as far as we're talking camping in vehicles, I think we're still, as far as the sheriff's department is concerned, it's going to fall under the whole Martin B. Boys thing that I know we've talked about no end. And my staff isn't going to do. They're not going to be enforcing the camping in vehicles, any vehicles, just like they aren't on the beach or in the city without proper shelter in place. So as far as that's concerned, that still stands the same for us. Just briefly looking over this RV vehicles, a lot of this stuff in this Dana Point Muni Code, RV is defined by the CDC or the Health and Safety Code.
Right.
So I thought I read that wording in ours somewhere, or at least it just has the CBC and the Health and Safety Code. Yeah, it's in there, 18010, which describes it. So it is very similar, I think. I think the time frames are a little different.
Yeah, the time frames
06 as opposed to 05, so it's nothing too different than what we already have. But it's my understanding that our staff are out enforcing parking regulations when it comes to RV.
Yeah, I think this is just, it seems to be clear and succinct, you know, and I'll add, and I appreciate that comment on Martin versus Boise. Did meet with our city manager, our new city manager, Andy Hall, down at North Beach, as a matter of fact, with a council member, and he's looked at the issues, and he thinks that code enforcement is the way to go on a lot of these issues, that OCSD might not be able for legal restrictions and policy. And he seems like he's really interested in trying to help in those areas where OCSD might not be able to take action.
Move to approve.
Any other comments first?
Yeah. I've read in detail the San Clemente thing, and it seems like it's inclusive, all inclusive. I mean, all these things are very, very similar. I think the San Clemente one is wordy because they wanted to put everything they can into the thing to make it as clear as possible, and it makes it look like mud.
Right.
Okay.
Word salad. Yeah.
I think that the task that we've got here is, because of this Martin Boise thing, what we're doing is separating this project from the Martin thing and getting the vehicle together so that when the resolution is on the other one, and so we have a regional homeless shelter or whatever, something that's available, then we can we've got it together, we've done our homework on it. Okay. I'm not unhappy with the current one. I don't know what the specific problem is with the current one.
Well, I think you hit it. I think it's really difficult to understand, and I think it's all about the wording.
Okay.
And I think the Dana Point one is newer, and I think their old one probably looked like ours did, and they took into consideration, and they just tried to make it. I think anybody can read this, and I think it's pretty clear. Whereas the San Clemente one, I think it's confusing.
Well, I must admit, you start reading it and your eyes glaze over.
Yeah. I'm not contending that San Clemente's isn't good, and they haven't done their job. I'm just saying this. I think the city council is confused by it also, and that's one of the reasons that they set this task to us.
Fine.
And I think this clarifies it, and that's.
It's fine. Either one of those is great. I mean, we cover it all, so it'd be to make it actually clearer and all that. I'll go for that too. All right.
Sure.
I think the main difference is it just breaks down what an RV is, as opposed to just putting in the health and safety code,
Sure.
code number of what it is.
And I think my recommendation, if we send this to staff, is that they actually, one second, Don, we've got to take public comments afterwards, is that we actually include the description as opposed to just referencing a code. Would that be something we could actually do in the ordinance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to rely on the state CDC for that, but one thing to keep in mind is vehicles kind of tend to change over time, and when it comes to personnel enforcing these regulations, I think it's for consistency's sake that if the same people are being OCSD are enforcing the CDC and local regulations, that it's nice when they mirror one another rather than having two separate descriptions depending on which codes they're using. But other than that, I don't see an issue with identifying a specific size for these types of vehicles.
Charlie, you had something?
Well, my comment is I'd like to get some numbers out here on the table. I'm trying to understand what the darn thing says. Basically, there's commercial vehicles and then there's recreational vehicles. The commercial vehicles cannot park more than 2 hours on a city street from 5 a.m. to midnight. Midnight to 5 a.m., they can't park at all. But I don't understand that part because people do have to unload businesses.
Well,
in the middle
I
of
think
the
it
night.
says except when they're doing maintenance or.
But I didn't see. Okay, maintenance, and I can understand our city vehicle, but I'm dropping off groceries or something to the store. I mean, is that in,
I think it is.
is it? Well,
There are exceptions,
Yeah, there are exceptions.
reasonable exceptions.
okay, the other one is, okay, I assume I'm an RV owner and I'm coming home from a trip someplace and it's the middle of the night. You know, what am I supposed to do to,
You can park in front of your own residence.
and how long can I keep it there to do maintenance and all that?
Well, the days are in there, and then if you need extended period of time, you just go to the city and tell them, I need to work on my RV or do whatever on my RV, and they give you a permit.
The city staff proposes a 36-hour parking thing with it, and a really elaborate reporting to the Orange County Sheriff's Department to get that. What does the Dana Point say for?
I just passed it down somewhere.
It looks similar here, just.
Yeah,
Is it how many
Yeah, they
hours?
have
How
it
many
in there,
hours
too.
can I keep
36
the
hours
RV on?
extension.
You know, is it more than 30?
that's why I say if you read through this one, it's a lot clearer than our present one.
Well, that's-
Although a lot of the numbers match up. See, you were having a hard time finding it in the current one. If you look through it, it's pretty clear.
Well, down here in item 5 on the last page, it says the exploration of the 24-hour or 72-hour period. So presumably you can keep an RV in front of your house for 24 hours and then somehow also for 72 hours.
72 hours with a permit.
Okay, that's significantly longer than what the city staff recommended, though. I just wondered, you know, they want 36 hours, these you go up 24, 72. I think the longer period of time is probably, if I was the user, I would prefer that.
Well, then
And-
72 hours is in the one that we're.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
I think that's, those are the two things I was looking for. If I was a trucker or I had an RV,
Yeah,
you know.
Well, this one's 24 hours.
without a permit.
If you look at the bottom of page 2, which is no purchase of park, stop, leave, standing, RV, bus, trailer, regardless of width in its street, designated publicly used parking lot or alley, except for purposes of unloading and loading, for a period not exceeding 24 hours.
Which item is that?
It's this one here, it's under sections 3,
Okay.
C, D, 2.
Then it's right at the bottom, this last paragraph.
Yeah,
My eyes are
yeah.
glazing over already. Come on.
42 height.
Okay.
Again, you guys are keep on making my point.
It is, but it is much clearer though,
Yeah.
the data point. And what do they have to do to get a permit?
Just-
Who would they report to here in San Clemente? They wouldn't report to Dana, or well, maybe they would.
No, it's down here, because this will be our ordinance. This will be our own ordinance that we would put in. This is the model as Dana points, but it would be, we'd have
The
our own.
permits for RVs under our current code are issued by the Orange County Sheriff's Department.
Oh, okay.
So it would be the same.
So it would be, that would
basically.
be the
Okay.
same.
All right.
And it's explained in our current ordinance that they call our non-emergency dispatch and request that time frame through our dispatch, and they'll log it into our CAD system.
And the odds of somebody being down there 24 hours after you park there ready to take action on that vehicle is, I can tell you, is probably pretty slim.
Yeah.
Might be 24 days before somebody notices it, but I don't think the time frame. And here's another thing that we could add is the permit process where you call and whatever. We could have staff put that in this one.
That would
also.
help. Yeah, it is pretty complex. It should be simplified. Hey, I need this thing for another day or two, and
Yeah.
I'm just,
And
here's
it's-
my address, and
And
let it go with
I
that.
think it can be done by the phone, because if they call on the phone, Captain, can't they just enter it in the CAD? So
Yeah.
somebody gets a call, they know that it's already been taken
And
care of.
that's how I read it in the ordinance already,
Right.
is that they call our sheriff's department non-emergency line. They
Okay.
request a time, they gotta list the dates, the times, who they are, where the address is, and they're granted that.
Then they just
Up
put
to
it,
6 times a year, it looks like, 36-hour extensions.
well, that seems liberal
Yeah.
enough, I would think. Okay. If there's no more comment, Don, are you here to speak on this?
Well, I would just
Well,
say,
are you just yes or no first?
yes.
Okay, so are there any more, because we'll have public comments, I think, before we vote, is that
Yes.
fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments on this before we have a citizen?
I'm Tom Streeter, and Don and I are co-chairs of the Homeless Collaborative.
Okay.
And we actually are looking forward optimistically to the point where we can see Martin versus Boise. We've solved the problem. It would be nice to have an ordinance already in place so that as soon as we get it, yes, put it into effect. Now, what can we do? Okay, we have some clown who's parking his RV out by the municipal golf course. It's an annoyance. Well, he's got to park it somewhere.
You got it.
If we have the ordinance that we're writing now, if we have the ordinance writing now saying, listen here, Joker, here's where you park it, not by the golf course. Here's where you park it. Some problem solved. But it's got to be somewhere at 3 o'clock in the morning. So let's tell the guys where. What do you recommend?
Wait, you don't have,
Losing control,
you
right?
don't have to answer this.
don't
This
have
is
to-
comments, this is not discussion. You're gonna have to wait for him outside.
No, but we got to have some place. And if we can write it into the ordinance now while it's still fresh, we're thinking about it, this is the time to do it.
Donna, do you have some comments?
And I agree with what Tom just said, and I would add to that, it would be lovely if we could have a safe parking program where we know where these vehicles are, where our outreach workers and code compliance and our sheriff can interact with them appropriately so that it will make our neighborhoods safer, and it will also be safer for our homeless living in these vehicles and living in their cars. So I would just ask the Public Safety Committee, the Chief of Police, to have a voice at City Council and just be real clear that we don't want these RVs parking out at the golf course in our neighborhoods. We want to have a program, and we want it to be top-notch. We can look at like the Jewish Family Services that have a very successful program that are willing to partner with the city of San Clemente, and let's just have some action and stop talking about it and have a strategy and work together.
Very good.
Talk about easy law enforcement oversight. Suppose we say, hey, after 5 o'clock, you can park it overnight in the City Hall parking lot where the sheriff can watch you.
Okay.
I'm only semi-joking.
No,
Yeah, you are, because the people that you're trying to help don't want any oversight.
Well, if they don't want any oversight, then we can kick them out.
okay.
But if they're
Okay,
Looking for a
okay,
guy.
okay, no, unfortunately,
Please.
it's not a discussion, but I'm gonna close public comments at this time. I will make a comment, that our work plan in this committee is basically ordinances and code enforcement and OCSD and how the strategy works that way. I happen to know that, on the work plan of the Human Affairs Committee, I know Dr. Stu has been discussing a parking situation, and it is on their work plan, and that would probably be the place to take that up with them. So,
Sounds great.
and I don't disagree with anything you said. So,
Why not public safety? That seems a lot more appropriate than human affairs. You all are the experts in public safety.
and not to get a long discussion, we have to stay with what our work plan is. We have direction. That's the way it is. Not to say that this might not be on our next work plan. So, with that, then I'm just going to put the caveat with the Dana Point ordinances that we've identified the fact that maybe putting the identification of the what an RV is, what the health and safety code says an RV is, as if somebody pulls up our ordinance, that it can be able to see that without doing their own research, and then also a link with the phone number on the extent if they need an extension. So in other words, Citizen runs it comes up and they don't have to go like 13205 and try to find that themselves. They will see what an RV is, and then also have the information if they need to extend the permit. Would that be possible to do?
We can do that.
That's an extra page or something on our.
Well, what happens if there's a violation to any of these regulations? There's nothing in here about what the consequences are.
Well, that's
Because the consequences are listed in Title I. technically, all violations of the municipal code can be prosecuted as misdemeanors, but enforcement staff has the authority, and we typically do, to either issue like an infraction ticket, and those tickets are they start at $100. Repeat offenses can be increased in the fine amount.
And before anybody starts getting overwhelmed with, oh no, people are going to get tickets everywhere, we've had an ordinance in place for a while, and how many RV tickets for parking too long do you think that we write a year?
That would be OCSD. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. But I mean, it's not a ton.
Yeah, I couldn't even comment. I don't know how many it would be.
So, and that doesn't change either way, no matter what. If we do nothing or we do something, that doesn't change.
Yes, part of the issue here, I think, is it's the time limits are a complicated piece of this enforcement. When we're talking about, it's easier to say there's no parking between certain times than it is to say you can't park for more than 5 hours. Because the 5 hours requires somebody to show up from the beginning and then show up 5 hours later. And that's really a difficult thing to do. So we're looking, I think the direction from the council was just to streamline our regulations so that they're easier to enforce.
Right. Okay, with those two caveats, now we maybe have a motion.
Yeah, move to approve with adding the code section and the phone number and the information on how to get a permit.
And using Dana Point's ordinance as our verbiage model. Is that basically, does that sound clear?
Well, maybe a friendly amendment or something here, actually put in a time when the 24-hour starts and it ends or something, because that is a way of kind of weaseling out of this.
Well, for
whole
enforcement,
thing.
it's when somebody calls and complains and the person goes out there and says, the cop goes out and says, well, it's 5 p.m. on Wednesday. That's when it starts.
It wouldn't be easier to, I get into discussion, I should have done this too, I apologize, but it seems like if when they call your dispatcher, the dispatcher says, okay, your thing just started now at 7 o'clock in the morning, and 24 hours now you got to be out of there.
I think an officer has to actually go and see that it's there. Otherwise, you could call and say, anything. I think an officer has to go out and actually identify. I mean, that's with like any parking enforcement. So
Right, they have to mark.
they have to mark it and all that stuff. So,
Okay.
All right. Shock out.
well, if there's not, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now back to our
Thank you, folks.
Oh, yeah, very much. Absolutely. Again, Donna, I agree with you. We all have a process. Okay, so now we have our special presentation on the Prepare system. And this was directed also from the mayor, I guess, ran into these people somewhere, and this sounds like a good idea. And I guess some Orange County jurisdictions are already utilizing this, so I'll let Mike Leskovich now talk about this from Prepare. So can you hear us now, Mike?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate the time. Yes, one of our advisors happens to know Mayor Duncan, and we have over 500 communication centers for police, fire, and EMS operational across the United States, and our advisor made the mayor know about the capabilities and what we provide to local municipalities, and so that's what brings us here today. In fact, Orange County Sheriff's Department has already signed up to receive our services. They'll be deploying when their new communication center is the construction's finalized. Also in California, we have Anaheim Police Department, El Cajon, Buena Park, Fontana, and a bunch of other agencies in California and Southern California. So what I'd like to do is start by giving you just a brief background of what we provide here at Prepared. We provide the ability for your police, fire, and EMS agencies and as well as your 911 center to receive additional data, information that can be life-saving from the public. So let's say, for instance, you call 911. When you call 911, you're typically calling 911 with a phone. In this case, in most cases, 90% of those phone calls are coming from cell phones. And those cell phones have the ability to take pictures, to take video, to send information, to text, all of that rich information. But in your 911 system, you're restricted across the country. You're restricted to providing that or receiving that information in a voice manner. What we do is we enable the native features on that device to take advantage of those functions to improve the information from the caller. So I'm going to start here from our user interface. As you see, I'm displaying on the screen. First, I'll share that there's no need for any install of hardware or software, so it's really easy and quick to deploy and take advantage of for your public and your local agencies right away. I'm going to enter my phone number, presuming that I've called 911. I will receive a text message on my device that allows me to immediately, with my fault there we go, allows me to immediately send a request to the public for additional service-based information, including live stream video and photos and location. Stop here a second. Session ended, as it typically does, for a 30-minute period. Give me 1 second here. I will go ahead and resend that link to my device. Now, here we go. I've received the message on my device. It's asked me if I'd like to share video. When I do so, I'm prompted to give permission, and immediately your 911 center has the ability to see what the caller is sharing on their device. So in addition to the 911 call, and the 911 call can continue and persist, this information can be provided directly to your telecommunicators and dispatchers in 911. You can see I have, on the screen that I'm sharing, I have the display of the video that's being presented. I'm sorry, was there a question?
No question here, Mike. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Now your dispatchers, your telecommunicators in 911 have the ability to perform a number of operations immediately with the caller. They can do things like take a picture. If there's a suspicious object, we can take a snapshot of that information, and that information is stored and available for access after the fact or for viewing during the live stream and for description out to responding unit. We can also do things in dispatch. Your dispatchers can flip the camera to see who's calling. So you can do things like flip that and take a picture, flip it back. We can perform operations for the caller. Now let's assume for a moment you've got a 911 caller who maybe doesn't have the ability to speak. We also have the ability to text back and forth. And by texting back and forth, if they've called 911 and hung up, you now have the ability to communicate with that caller when you may not have before. In addition, if that caller may be in the middle of the night and there may be a suspicion of an individual in the home, the 911 operator, the telecommunicator, can do things like hide the display. So when I click hide this display, you can see it turns dark, preventing the suspect or another individual from seeing what's going on. In fact, just recently we had a domestic call where law enforcement was called out to, I believe this was Colorado, law enforcement was called out to a location of a premise where there was a female caller who had called about her male partner in the home who was challenging her and threatening to hurt her and harm her. And she had turned on her, called 911 and hung up, and she was able to text back and forth using our platform, but not only text back and forth, but then receive the information about what was happening inside the apartment without the suspect's knowledge, which then gave public safety officers, in this case law enforcement, the ability to see what was happening inside the apartment and in fact determine that there were weapons inside the apartment that wouldn't have otherwise been able to be seen. And so law enforcement never knocked on that door. They were able to communicate, call in and communicate with the suspect. It turns out that he was attempting to provoke law enforcement, was trying to, for lack of a better term, commit suicide by cop, if you will. And through the use of our platform, this agency was able to improve their situational awareness to respond to the incident and provide officer safety, to prevent that officer or officers from knocking on that door in that domestic, not knowing what might be on the other side of the of the call. So again, to recap, we provide this advanced capability for additional information to be provided to your 911 center in addition to the phone call. We're operational in over, like I said, over 500 dispatch centers. That's 10% of the dispatch centers in the United States in just the last year. So I'll pause there, see if anyone has any questions, and then I can continue to provide you some additional details.
I've got one quick question, Mike. So did you say that the Orange County Sheriffs are involved in this also? I can't remember all the people you talked to up front. Okay. So they're going to utilize your services?
Yes, yep, they've already signed on. I think it was 3 months ago already. They're waiting to deploy the technology along with a number of other new technologies in their new communication center at, I believe, the Justice Center that's under construction right now.
Mike, how hard is it for a dispatcher to tell a caller to take advantage of what you're talking about here? How do they learn to do that?
Yeah, it's really simple and straightforward. There's no complicated user interface. It's as simple, and we provide training, and we can record that training for replay to your dispatchers. It's as simple as clicking new incident and either entering the phone number manually or receiving that phone number from an interface system such as RapidSOS if you happen to be using that. And then what they do is they instruct the caller to click the link in their text. And the feedback from the 500 dispatch centers that are using Prepared have indicated that the instructions to the caller are pretty straightforward because most of the users today are pretty accustomed to using their text on their device, and communicating in this way is pretty standard to their daily communication.
Now, does this system record and save?
Yeah, that's a great question. It does. As you can see at the top of my display here, I'm currently operational in the dashboard. I can click I'm going to go ahead and leave this recording. I can click the archive button. Inside the archive, you have access to previously stored videos, pictures, locations, text communications back and forth. And that is stored in perpetuity. So it's provided for your agency's use for quality assurance and quality control if you want to, audit these types of things to improve the communication center, or even for evidentiary purposes. So if you want to use this information for evidence or investigation, it's available to you as well. We don't charge for our storage, and we don't charge for data retention, which means you can do one of two things. You can leave every stored communication with the public available here in perpetuity, or you can choose to deploy a retention period based upon your retention schedules and purge after a certain amount of time. About 99% of our operational agencies operate in an environment where they just keep everything should they need it. They find it's more useful to assist law enforcement and public safety agencies than the opposite.
I think this is great because this helps with officer safety. It helps the entire judicial system when it goes to court. This is great.
Yeah, I had a quick question, leapfrogging on that, and I wanted to add Chief Christian to this conversation. So there's a high potential. You brought up the family dispute or assault. Woman calls, "Hey, my husband's beating me up." There's a high propensity for the crime to actually be caught on video if she links, and then she's assaulted. Is there any legality issue for using that?
Yeah, good question.
That's going to be above my head. It sounds like our department's already kind of buying into this from what you're saying. So, like your comments earlier, what a great tool.
Yeah, have you heard of any evidentiary issue with this?
No, none at all. In fact, this is used by those dispatch centers and the agencies that they support, about 5,000 agencies, for evidentiary purposes. So use in prosecution, use in defense, use in officer support. We've heard cases where individuals from the public call in and say, okay, X, Y, and Z happened. And you can say, that's interesting. I've looked into that complaint, if you will. And we have video about that complaint, and almost immediately, those reports just kind of get resolved. So it can actually result in decreased administrative burden in those cases as well, and has for some customers.
Wow, well, this is very exciting.
I have a couple of questions, if I may. I'm Nick Bercuda. I think I got lost on the video or the picture taking. Is that the person that is calling in on 911 is taking those pictures, or is it automatically activated?
So the public is the public has the request received. So your 911 center sends a request to the individual that's calling and says, "Can I use your video?" That's an electronic request.
Okay.
The public, the caller has to approve that. When they approve that, they're sending the information from their phone somewhere inside the city back into your 911 center. So they're providing the live stream video as the incident's occurring. They can also send still pictures, etc. You don't have access into their video or to their phone unless they approve that request that's being made by your dispatcher.
So the person calling 911 is the gatekeeper for that.
That's correct. So your dispatcher inside your 911 center still acts as that dispatching entity that determines when this information is required, on what incident types it can be most useful, and so on.
Okay. Now, I have another technical question. What platforms, telephonic, electronic platforms, does will not support your program?
That's a great question. So this does require that the caller be using a mobile phone, a smartphone,
Okay.
and that, which is typically now around 80, 85, in some cities, closer to the 90% mark, where individuals that are calling 911 are calling on a cell phone as opposed to a landline. So it does require a cell phone from the caller, it won't work on a landline. And across the cell phones, I believe it's 90, last survey we took of the US cell phone market, it's something like 97% of those devices, Apple devices, Android devices, both supported. 97% of the cell phones in use today have the ability and the smart capabilities to use this function.
What are the 3% that won't?
Your phone.
Yeah.
The cricket, it doesn't work with the cricket. Nick.
No crickets. Huh? No.
Your flip phone won't work, Nick.
So if
Exactly, it's a flip phone.
So if you can get, if we can get into 911, chances are you can actually use this data. The user can use that. The person that's calling for help, virtually, if they have a cell phone, they're going to be able to get through and use this platform.
Yeah. The incidence of cases where the caller is not able to use it is across our 500 user base, 540 agencies or dispatch centers is minuscule. We don't often get reports that anybody isn't able to connect to 911.
Okay.
Is Kim Kaplan live, or is this a videotape of her from before?
Hi.
I
I'm
have a
going to come over
question.
to you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question.
I have a question. Robin Lott, Marine Safety.
Yeah. I just want to say that Kimmy happens to be next
Hi.
to me.
Hi. So I am sorry I'm late. We're in New York at the corporate office, and it was a long walk, and there's a lot of people on the street, so I apologize. I actually live in Oceanside, so I'm local. So I'm just down the street from you guys.
All right.
We'll come up to the best city sometime.
Okay.
Can
I pass by you guys all the time, so I will gladly come and visit you. I can come on site anytime.
Okay, our Captain Rob Merlot from Marine Safety has a question for you guys.
I just have a question. My understanding is if a cell phone user calls 911, it's directed to CHP versus the 911 dispatcher.
Okay.
Does that pose a problem or a delay to transfer it to like a 911 dispatcher for OCFA and sheriffs?
It's the one button transfer, I think.
Well,
Yeah, so you receive
because there's a big delay when we get it. Someone calls from 911 and it gets routed to CHP, and they're trying to figure out where to go with this. And so I was just kind of curious how that workaround happens.
Let's find out.
Yeah, that's a great question. You have the ability to request this information to the public at any time. So if you know that, once you know that there's a call that you need to respond to from either a 911, answer it as a secondary PSAP, or it's being transferred to you by CHP. As soon as you receive the notice that you need to interact with someone from the public, you have the ability to use our tool. You don't have to wait until it's transferred to you. You don't have to wait. You don't even have to have a 911 call. So just to further demonstrate that you don't have to wait for the 911 call. Let's see. I'll give you an example of it verbally at least. If you have, let's say you have a parade or something, and in your 911 center, you have a non-emergency line where people can dial a 10-digit number. And they're calling, the morning of the parade, asking what time it starts, what's the start, what's the route, where's this, all this information. That's just one example. You have the ability to use our tool to can a message and just text that out to them. Or if there's someone that needs assistance and calls on your non-emergency number and bypasses the whole 911 system, you can use this in that case too, where you're receiving video information, text back and forth, location information, without a caller having ever called 911. So it works in both scenarios, where it's then a transfer to you, or when you have knowledge of someone in need of assistance through another means, you can reach out to them and make a request for text, photo, video, location information.
And just adding that real quick, because actually it's not going to have that big of an effect on us, I don't think, but CHP actually in rural unincorporated areas is the primary law enforcement. Have you contacted CHP about this program also?
But I don't know the main contact over there, but if you want to send it to me, if you know who that is, I would gladly reach out to them.
It's called the commissioner.
The commissioner of CHP up in Sacramento. I mean, that's, yeah. I can certainly get you that information. I would certainly have you reach out to them because, like I say, in unincorporated rural areas, they're primary law enforcement. So I'll get you that information.
So if a situation is happening and there are multiple people calling with video, can your system link all those together so that after the responding officers are done, the detectives and the judicial system can get all the different cell phone angles and into one string?
That's a great question. As you see on the left-hand side, these are all active calls. In that case, it would be the archive. And inside the archive, we have the ability to tag these with incident numbers or case numbers. And if I'm looking for case numbers 123 or all incidents related to ABC 123 as a case number, all related videos to case ABC 123 will be displayed on the left-hand side. We're not bundling them together, but we're giving you the ability to filter by that case number or name if you choose to give it one, and put those all in one location on the left-hand panel here in the archive. That request to physically bundle them or to connect them is one that we've received and is in our future roadmap.
Do me a favor, will you get a presentation out to LAPD? We could definitely sit that there.
Yeah. I have a question.
Who? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
LAPD.
LAPD.
Yeah.
Los Angeles Police
LIPD.
Department.
In process.
Good. It's a great tool.
Thank you.
Mike, I want to go back. This is Charlie Hightower. I'm the vice chair of the committee. I'm not an attorney or anything, but let me
stated all.
This is not a technical question. I've got the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution here. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. This seems to be encroaching on a search and not necessarily a seizure, but evidence. And it seemed to me that you would need to have some kind of authority, permission for these people to comply with the dispatcher. And even after that, the evidence might be disputed by an attorney saying, well, it was my husband, or the husband was beating his wife, and he says, well, you can't come in here. I didn't allow you to come in here and take a
But his
picture of me
wife gave
beating my
permission when
wife.
she started.
What- how do you-
When she started filming, she gave her permission. Okay.
I agree, but I think there's some constitutional issues here. Have anybody back there, do you have an attorney on your staff that's looked into that sort of thing?
Yes, we have several, and that's a great point that you bring up. And the act of approving and providing permission by the reporting party is no different than your law enforcement agency, the police department, inquiring the public if they reported any video during an incident. So it's no different. This is treated no differently than any after the fact evidentiary video or photo collected about an incident. The only difference is that, well, it's a huge difference, is that it's live, it's real time, providing you situational awareness, officer safety. And that approval that caller is giving is the confirmation that they are choosing to present that to law enforcement and to the government to share that for the purposes of public safety.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, any citizen can use their cell phone to take pictures of a crime, and it's evidence. They're using their own cell phone
Yeah.
to take pictures.
I've got
Here
a,
you're in the house, that's just,
I got a technical question regarding your platform here. I'm running an EOC, Emergency Operations Center, and I've got citizens, I've got city staff, whatever, all feeding in this stuff. Can you, on one screen, provide a multiplex of all that?
That's another great question. We don't have that capability today. That is also in our roadmap for display of the multiple incidents simultaneously.
Okay.
Now, what I would love to segue into some of the additional capabilities that we have, but I want to be very clear with everyone where those start and where this ends, just so I can share with you something that I haven't shared yet, which is exciting information, and that's that everything that you've seen here is provided to you at absolutely no cost. There's no cost for implementation of this service, the training of your telecommunicators, and the ongoing support of the system, just like the other 500 dispatch centers throughout the nation. So there's no charge for anything that you've seen here. That includes data storage, the archive, so the ability to search and retrieve that information. But we have some advanced capabilities that I can show you. I just wanted to make it very clear where that line exists, so that you know what you can deploy for free in as little as 2 weeks on average, versus what's available for procurement if you wanted to enhance this capability by doing things like translating languages automatically, sending this video out to responding units so that they can view the video on scene and so on.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I was just going to ask, does Kim know she's not getting paid for any of this then, if you don't have any income? Okay,
Yeah,
so,
they can hear you. Okay, they can hear you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just like to work for charity.
okay, so now, Mike, you're going to tell us how you get paid now, right? With these added features.
Right. So again, everything you've seen is completely free, no strings. You don't have to buy anything. But we believe these features and functions are so valuable to the public safety response, and to give access to the public that, and in fact, it's been proven in the number of customers that have chosen to pay for enhanced functions. The first enhanced function I'll share with you is the ability to share. We call it on scene, because it gives the responding units, the ability to receive the video as it's being collected by 911. So I happen to have the phone number of an individual, cell phone number of an individual sitting in that room there, And Rick, if you take a look at your cell phone, you should have just received a text message. And that text message will tell you that you've been dispatched or sent a live stream video. And if you click the link in that live stream or in that text, you'll be able to see the location that I'm collecting in 911. You'll be able to see the live stream video that Kimmy here is collecting, and you'll be able to see the location as well if you need to drive or turn-by-turn directions. Rick, did you see the text message in that link?
I've got Prepared Live now. I've got you on here. It says, okay, it says live. Okay. And it says media and location. Oh, tap to view. Wait a minute here. Okay.
So now you're seeing exactly what dispatch is seeing.
Okay.
So can you go ahead and like?
So this is in their office right there.
Yep, this is our office.
Okay.
So in this scenario, I'm the dispatcher.
Okay.
Kimmy is the caller, and she's holding her cell phone.
Okay.
I, as the dispatcher, have dispatched this live stream video out to first responders, out to the police department, as an example.
Okay.
Now they can see what's going on inside that apartment or inside that premise, that home, in the case of a domestic, or they can see what's going on for non-emergency incidents. Maybe there's a scenario where they don't need to go on scene, but collecting the video of or seeing the video of what's happening on scene allows them to be more efficient in the response by collecting the information for report taking through a video instead of by sending a unit. Your minds are probably running wild with use cases, probably more so than my experience would allow. So. Yep, if you click in the bottom, you can click location and see turn-by-turn instructions on how to get from San Clemente to New York City.
Oh.
And you
Go to LAX.
Yeah, really.
can you can also see down at the bottom any pictures that were previously taken by the dispatcher or the caller,
Okay.
and that information is available for the responding unit as well.
Okay. Oh yeah, I got the get directions. I just clicked on it, and it gives you like a Waze map here that it starts.
Oh, geez. How many miles? Right?
Yeah, what's it say? It's only going to take me 3 days to get there.
3 days.
It's only 2 days. I've seen you drive.
Yeah, right.
You mentioned, Mike, you could blank out his screen now. Can you do that in this demo?
I can't blank out his. I can blank out the callers.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
Kimmy, if you is it hidden already?
No, it's not. I unhid it.
Okay.
Oh.
You're not.
No.
There we go. So, yep, you
Rick,
can see it's
can
kind
you
of blurred,
zoom
but you can.
Yeah, she's still.
Can you zoom it?
Oh, can I zoom?
Yep. So now,
Well, yeah. There's no zoom. There's no.
Oh, okay, too bad.
she's got blur on the zoom there. Yep.
Do
Zoom
that.
out of
Yeah. Click
focus.
down on the. Here. Oh, turn that back on. Click the arrow.
There we go.
There we go. So now you can see that she's in the video. As a dispatcher now, I have the
Oh, I
ability,
see,
if you
yeah.
look at your
Okay.
screen sharing, I can click this hide, and it will prevent anyone from knowing that she's recording.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yes.
We also have do you use MDTs in your patrol car?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
MDT. So I demonstrated this by sending this to your phone through a text message. We support that delivery. We also support the installation of a lightweight application on your MDCs so that you can view this information and your units will receive a visual and audible notification that they've been dispatched a live stream video. And with one click or one touch, they can view that live stream in the car as well. They're not pulling out and fumbling with a phone.
Really awesome.
Right on the MDT. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So how many advanced features do you have here on the menu? You don't have to go through them, but yeah.
Sure. That involves the end users, the responding units, and we can enable that. Another feature we have is this ability to perform text translation. Do you have any part of your population or visitors that speak a language other than English as a primary language?
Yeah. A couple.
Yes. No word.
Yes, we do. In Southern California, we have a lot of languages. Yeah.
Let's assume it's Mandarin. What can you do for Mandarin?
We do support Mandarin. We support over 130 languages automatically translating by text. So let's say you've got a caller. You can stop the live stream now. Let's say you've got a caller. Do you want to open the chat and type something in, maybe something that you know? We don't know Mandarin enough to translate it.
Spanish, huh?
So what our system will do, let's say, for instance, you get a 911 caller and they're speaking Mandarin and you don't have a dispatcher that knows what they're saying. They don't even know what language they're speaking. I've done nothing as a dispatcher. I'm sitting here, and what you can see in the user interface, we have automatically detected that the language that was texted in is Spanish. We've shown the original Spanish, and we've translated it into the English. So it says, "Cómo está?" Is what was typed on the text, and "How are you?" is what is received by the dispatcher. Now let's assume for a minute this is Mandarin because we support it. Now we know that it's Mandarin because it'll show up here as Mandarin, and it will translate automatically. I don't need to know anything else. I can say, "What is your emergency?" And when I'm typing that, as a dispatcher, it automatically translates so we can see what it looks like. And when I press enter, it sends, it locked. My device locked. There we go. It automatically sent as in the language that it detected. And as a dispatcher, I can see that I typed it in English, "What is your emergency?" And I can also see the translated language as well.
Okay, question there.
That's good.
Stop there for a sec. You're assuming everybody can read.
Yeah.
Will it come out in
That's correct.
voice?
We do not have voice translation services.
Okay. But if the officer at the other end, if he's there trying to translate this stuff, that's after you make initial of where the 911's going. At least we can do a Google Translate at that point, I guess. Something.
You could, theoretically, the officer could text into dispatch and really, they could see it that way as well. That assumes that the officer has the ability to understand the language and it well enough to type it. So.
Yeah. Okay. So it's you're like I said, we're assuming everybody can read, which is a false assumption. Okay.
Well, you can't help everybody.
Yes.
Well, but you don't know where they're coming from. We've got a lot of people coming across the border who can't speak English, let alone Spanish. They speak Spanish, but we're assuming they can read and write.
They're literate,
You
yeah.
can't
But
do
are you
that.
talking about like when you call into dispatch for something?
Yeah, and they
Well,
can't.
doesn't dispatch have?
They have translators.
They have translators there at dispatch, so I don't think that's going to be a major
All
problem.
right.
Yeah, we have third-party translating services at that call.
Yeah. It takes a
And they're
while.
on
to
live.
get-
Not long.
It's
You'd be
not
surprised.
too long.
Yeah.
Surprise.
If you get the right ones.
Yeah. So
Okay.
agencies typically have a service called Language Line, and the Language Line, if it's a language and no one speaks in the dispatch center, they can conference in third-party service. What we provide is the ability to shorten that timeline. If they have the ability, if they have a smartphone, if they're calling and they have a smartphone, yes, those are assumptions. Internationally recognized the term SMS. So if they say SMS, your dispatcher says SMS, they'll know to look at their text and type in whatever language they type in. And our goal, and we've seen this be beneficial across a number of dispatch centers and law enforcement agencies, the ability to text faster or communicate faster when either Language Line can't find a Mandarin translator or it takes 2 to 3 minutes to get the translator on the line. We can do this in a matter of seconds. So while we don't have the ability to translate voice on the fly, we are supporting a greater collection of the residents, citizens, or visitors to your community.
Okay. Luckily you're preaching to the choir, which is good, and also apparently we're already going to have this capability here shortly, since Orange County Sheriff's is our law enforcement provider. So I think mainly what we're going to looks like we're going to talk about it and tell the council how great this really looks, and we should be supportive. We're coming to a time constraint. Does anybody else have any questions that they want to pop in? Like I say, this is. I think you've sold us, and I think I speak for myself, you sold me on the enhancements too. I think it'd be a great tool for Orange County Sheriff. So I appreciate your guys' time. Your presentation was great. I think you've really come upon something here that's probably the biggest technological advance I've seen, in recent times since we actually got handheld radios. That was the big thing. But yeah, so anyway, I thank both of you. I hope to be talking to you, in the future. And if we have nothing else, then I thank you for your presentation.
Too, I live right there in Oceanside, which, as you know, is right next door in San Diego. Can't get more north in San Diego.
Yeah.
And so if you ever need to fight and do like any type of a demo, I'm willing to drive there anytime. And also, I'm not sure if Mike told you this before I came. Orange County Sheriff is not going to deploy it until their new center's up and running.
Right.
But I think it's just a pack right now, so I think it'll be up and running by July.
Oh, awesome. Well, and I think once it is up and running, maybe you guys could come up and give our council a presentation. Would be nice. That would, for the citizens and for the council, would really be great. So, thanks again.
We'd love to. Yep. Thank you for your time.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Great job.
Okay. All right. Well, that was.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. That was awesome. Okay. Moving on to the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Well, I have one comment on
Oh.
that. If you look at the attendance list, it said Captain Malott arrived at 3:17.
Exactly.
I think we should add his 3:17 due to an emergency he was involved in or something. Otherwise,
We decided that emergency wasn't really an excuse to not be here on time, so.
I just don't want him to be offended.
We're going to
by
dock his pay by 17 minutes.
I'll make it worth your time on my update.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Actually, Captain, you were here 17 minutes early today, so.
yeah, exactly. So it offsets. Okay, any motion on the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Passes 4-0. Okay, oral written communications. Now, I know you're still here from the audience here. If you, this is communications on any topic, if you'd like
I
to.
used to be an assistant DA for Henry Wade in Dallas.
Oh,
And, the remarks about Fourth Amendment, if you have a person who is lawfully present inside the house, somebody who could testify, and they happen to say, while I was watching this, I had my cell phone up, and here is the video I took.
it's
If you can talk about it, you can photograph it, if you're lawfully present in the house.
Right.
If you're not lawfully present, then you just raised a very important point.
Yeah.
But, the typical woman who's getting beaten up by her boyfriend is lawfully present in the house.
Yeah.
And on
That's the
public property, it's
public property, no
it's
problem. Well, it's, are you lawfully present where you actually were? Now, this was Dallas 35 years ago, and there's no change in distances, and there's no change in 35 years in law. So, I can absolutely guarantee you that what worked there then, long ago, far away, will definitely work here.
But yeah, you also have to qualify that, also men get beat up by the women.
Oh, yeah. That happens to me all the time.
We do respond to those also.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Can you please state your name?
Oh, I'm Tom Streeter.
Okay, great. Just
And
want to make sure
I'm
it's on the
a
record.
retired gent of leisure,
Awesome.
and I'm the co-chair with Donna Vadrine of the Homeless Collaborative. And I figured, I'd like to make my presentation on homelessness, but you guys are doing a whole bunch of stuff besides homelessness. I want to know what's going on. Maybe you fit in.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Anyway,
Well, thank you for the clarification.
And the comment on the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
working on that, if I was a defense attorney, I'd throw up the thing of, I didn't give permission to have my voice on phone, recorded.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue,
That could be an issue, but
but not the action.
But if I was a
video.
defense
Not the video.
attorney, I'd throw that in just to muddy
So we'll
the.
take your voice out and just watch your beating on your
Exactly.
So,
that's the way it would go down.
Exactly.
I mean, really, that's exactly the way it would go down. Because what you're talking about is wiretapping. And usually the wiretapping rules cover something like, if you're recording me right now, it's not really wiretapping, but you're recording my voice without my consent. Of course, I consent because I'm here, but yeah, that could be a problem. But the video by itself,
Your fists do not have constitutional rights.
And thank you for putting that on the record, too.
absolutely. Hey, remember, this was long ago and far away. Things may have changed.
Okay,
Okay.
moving on.
All right.
But thank you for the clarification. Okay, reviews and recommendations, marine safety performance measures. Rob Merlot.
Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions if you guys have any. I'm sure all of you had a chance to look at them. They're pretty basic. So, anyone have any questions about the performance measures?
Kind of slowed down in September, didn't it? Looks like.
Slightly, right?
Yeah, except the.
Kids go back to school August around
But
the
why'd
second
the
week in August.
efficiency go up, I guess? That's, fewer lifeguards?
Mhm.
So they had to handle more people?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just, hats off to you because you folks take care of a lot of people down there. So,
2.6 million.
You know how he determines that? He counts the legs and divide by 2.
Exactly.
my father was an amputee.
Well, I'll echo that. I mean, in the 4 years since the Public Safety Committee's been in effect and we've had the marine safety updates, it's always been exemplary. You know, I think our lifeguards are one of the things we should be most proud of in our city. And I don't expect any drop off from that.
No, we want more improvement. Okay.
Well, and I think that's why the city council has put them on the committee, because they're that important.
Well, you know, interesting, we'll go back to that, but if you remember, Nick, the chief of police, the battalion chief, and the marine safety were not originally to be members of this committee. They came to the first meeting and to kind of do an introduction and all that, and then we're going to be ad hoc if we needed to contact them for information. And Chief Manhart, Capobianco, and Malat all said, we'd like to be part of this and actually come to every meeting. So it was actually the public safety that said we'd like to be regular members and not just calls on the phone. So that speaks volumes to them, because I didn't expect them to want to come to every meeting and be involved with this. So that's just another positive thing that we've come to this, and it's been so much more effective having them here at every meeting. We don't have to go back and forth and delay things. We can get the media input. So I thank them for that.
I've caught
Seems
another
like it was
comment.
Zoom in the beginning, right?
Charlie has a comment.
Yeah, or not quite. Just a heads up. Later on, we're going to be talking about e-bike safety and traffic and so forth. And on the beach trail, one of the things that we're trying to get some information on would be, how many violations have you guys written for people down on the beach trail? I don't know if that goes into something like this, but we'd certainly like to get some feedback from you on that.
In particular, you're talking about e-bikes
On top,
or just bikes in general?
No, e-bikes.
E-bikes.
Particularly violating that new ordinance that the city council has passed.
To my knowledge, there's only been one citation written, and that was before the new
ordinance
code came
went
out
in.
March 6th. But there's definitely a decrease. We continue our public education with the e-bikes. There's announcements made on the surf tape on the online. We also have a lesson plan for the junior lifeguard program that reaches out to 840 kids. Right now we have a public education campaign that we go to 12 different elementary schools, and we're hitting 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, which has a component about e-bikes on there as well. So what I was telling you daily, that is on the surf tape. That's updated 3 times a day. It's on the webpage. That's done. So, and then in the past, we've worked with Captain Benfield and done cones with cops for a PSA on that. There's also been PSAs that we've developed ourselves, such as the Friends of the BPNR just provided a $3,200 grant for a drone. Our current drone that we have done many PSAs. One was done for, it's really well done for e-bikes alone. So we continue those efforts and those classes, the 840 kids and the thousands of kids out in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, that message is still continued.
Well, under effectiveness, let me just ask you bluntly, can you put the number of violations of that ordinance in this report?
I think that has to be something that council would want. I can't say that I can make that change. I can come here and report to you guys, contacts that we've had. There's
Okay,
definitely
that's a
a
good point,
decrease in e-bike traffic. It hasn't gone away, but there's definitely a huge decrease in that. And it's a continued effort. Like for us, unless it's a common day, there's typically just 3 lifeguards this time of the year. So you have one up in the pier tower, you have me working administratively, and another one possibly on a break or on patrol. And the chance of you being right on that spot when someone's going by is tough. And then once you move into a busier part of the year, when you have towers open, then, as all times of the year, our focus is on the water, right? And then we definitely don't want to be having the tower guards looking behind them and looking and trying to stop e-bikers and whatnot. Number one priority is water.
So
But
that's-
I can come here and report to you guys, and I commonly do, and let you know what kind of stats we've had from the last update.
Right now, I was just asking if you could do that. I mean, we have to discuss it amongst ourselves
Yeah.
here and decide if we're going to make a recommendation. But and the same for you over there, Captain, as well. But I'll get into that a little bit later.
Well,
You're going to say something.
I think the other thing, if you're considering amending this thing, is how many injuries because of e-bikes. Somebody crashes into other people or dogs or whatever. That's another stat that could go in there too. But that's not your prime purpose. Fire department would be probably better for that because they respond.
Well, we would be the first responder to them if it's
Okay.
on the beach trail, depending upon if it's west of the tracks. If it's east of the tracks, then, and depending upon our staffing levels, it could be that's an OCFA call. If it's on the beach trail up at North Beach, we can't get around the point. There's only 3 of us. For instance, we had 2 medical aides up at North Beach. One was an unconscious female in the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 people on. One's down south. We can't get up there. Tide's too high. So OCFA responds, and they actually gave us a call last week that they're responding early in the morning. That just to give us a heads up that they're en route there. No response needed. So it all depends on if it's west of the tracks and it's along the on the beach trail there. We would be the first ones there.
I think what we're trying to do is just get the numbers. So is there a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, there's only been 1, maybe 2. I think it's just 1 right now for e-bike injury. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, moving along to OCSD performance measures.
Thanks.
With Chief Christian.
Yeah, this is Captain Christian. You've got the numbers here in front of you. This is the first time I'm seeing them as well, being new to this position. So I had some questions about this form, where it came from and who devised it and how the information was brought in. I got some answers, but you guys probably know more than I do about it. But if you have any questions about what you're seeing here, please let me know.
Yeah. Well, this is just the consistent way of doing it, dividing it, the workload, output, number of incidents, and effectiveness. And I looked back when I got on the board here, and there haven't been a whole lot of changes in this particular format. I think a few years ago there was particularly, I'm not sure what, it had to do more with after a few shootings here in town happened, there were some things added about those kinds of incidents here. Maybe that's the Group A crimes from prior year. I'm not a police officer, I don't know, but there was some change. It does evolve occasionally depending on how things turn out. But so far, this has held up for quite a few years, as long as the Sheriff's Department has been with San Clemente.
Yeah, I can tell you that the Group A used to be called Part 1, and these are all based on UCR crime stats versus what we've transitioned to with the NIBRS, which is the incident-based reporting system. Those numbers now, the NIBRS numbers aren't, they're not certified yet. I know for this last year, they're still in the process of being certified by DOJ, so our numbers aren't complete yet, but this is basically a snapshot of our performance throughout these times, regardless of whether it's UCR or NIBRS.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my comment on this. It's in the where we get this from is from our field-based reporting system. So everything, anytime there's an incident, we go out and we generate either a citation, a traffic collision report, or a crime report. That goes into this FBR system, and that's where they're pulling these numbers from. And these numbers will, sorry, just to continue, will
Yeah.
change. They're not definite. Like I say, it's a snapshot because this information that we're looking at today, tomorrow could change just based on the end result of that call. So for an example, if we have a burglary call and the end result determines it's not actually a burglary, it's a petty theft, it'll be documented later as a petty theft as opposed to a burglary, if that makes any sense.
I think the two things I look at is the number of crimes per thousand population. How do we compare with Irvine there? You got like 3.7 here for July. And then similarly, the priority one calls down to 5 minutes. That's pretty quick response time.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're even below that. There's certain keys that administratively will go in and look at these calls, so they may be dispatched as a priority one right away. Our response time is longer. You got to kind of filter through the calls and figure out, okay, we were shut down because OCFA went on scene prior than OCSD did, or the facts of the circumstances changed to where we're shutting down code 3 response because it's no longer needed. So some of those, if they're not adjusted, will report higher than what they actually are. But I know just by looking at some numbers, we're actually below 5 minutes for last year. I think we're like at 4:57 or so.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, the response sounds great. I have one question here, looking at your, part one, group A crimes. It was pretty consistent through the quarters, and in the first quarter of 2023, it's 11.1 per thousand residents. It looks like it's like almost tripled from other quarters.
To me, what that looks like, it looks like just an addition of July, August, and September together. If you add those up,
Yeah,
it
that's
looks like
first quarter.
Yeah.
11.1, right?
Yeah, that's
That's
an
the
average,
accumulation.
Yeah, it's accumulation.
Right,
of the three
accumulation.
quarters.
For the quarter.
July,
some it's an
August,
average,
September.
others
That's
it's
a quarter.
accumulation.
That's the total for the
total
quarter.
for the
That's
quarter.
total,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, because I was looking at 20.
I did the same thing.
Because I'm looking at 20, but so these aren't.
I did the same thing.
There's no 2023 statistics on here
Right.
whatsoever.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Well,
And those are gonna. When does that come out? That new thing.
I talked to the commander today. It sounds like, yeah, this is for the first quarter, which is, and you.
It was for the-
another thing. We're looking at it fiscally as opposed to where we get
It's
stats.
that's
a
what
year.
it's a
July.
fiscal.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they think that the 2023s are going to come out. When did?
I was told mid-March-ish,
Oh, okay. So pretty
So-
soon.
hopefully,
I've
Well,
got
probably
another
end of
observation
March.
for you.
maybe in
It'd be
March.
interesting.
What's
January,
If you look at
February,
effectiveness, part Group A crimes
No.
Mm-hmm.
in the previous years, if I
It would be
looked at
yeah.
those very subjectively, I'd be going, "Holy mac, we doubled the crime in town."
Yeah.
There's got to be something wrong here.
Yeah.
There's an asterisk
Well,
there.
yeah.
I don't see the asterisk.
Again, so moving from Part 1 crimes UCR to Part A crimes that are NIBRs, like I was talking to earlier, there's a lot more crimes. There was only 7 Part 1 crimes. Now under Part Group A crimes, it's 22 different crimes that are in there. So the numbers are going to look inflated, and that's why the department is saying when you share information,
Right. Be careful.
you can share it, but these are not documented official stats,
Gotcha.
and they're not going to compare very well to the old UCR.
Obviously.
Right. So it looks like crime's going crazy when
Yeah.
it's just a different organization of criminal activity lumped into a different area.
They changed the rules.
They changed the rules on us, yeah.
Okay.
Those-
Gotcha.
Well, they finally started putting crimes where they should be.
Yeah, ultimately.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot more that goes into the NIBR stuff. Like they're looking at times, locations, you're getting victim information, known offender information. So there's a lot more in it.
I think they're even doing response time by different crimes
I'm not
also.
sure they
I
might
mean, they're
be.
doing some crazy stuff. Okay, any other questions on?
Well, you haven't been on a job very long, but are any of your deputies running into any issues on responding here in the city that maybe the city council can do something about, or we could do? I mean, we always talk at averages here, and there's always the standard deviation. Some are a lot quicker, some are a lot longer. I worry about the ones that took a lot longer. I mean, are there many of those that you run into?
There are some, there aren't many. I noticed some of the longer ones are because they're responding from City Hall. They may be here out of their area doing some report writing or whatnot. So oftentimes I'll remind them, hey, area integrity is important, cuts down our response time. So if you don't need to be in City Hall for whatever reason, try to take care of it in your
Well,
area. So-
and another thing about these stats, and maybe they'll be interesting if they do break it down per crime, is if you get a robbery in progress, your response time is going to be a minute.
Hopefully.
I'll bet. I mean, I think you guys are pretty quick on code 3 calls. But then you're going to get maybe a prowler in the backyard is going to be 10 minutes or long. So it's an average. So it's hard to tell. I know you're getting to priority calls really, really quickly. And the other one's probably more concerning is just suspicious person. Maybe that's taken an hour sometimes. You don't know. So,
Right, yeah.
But that's just
Yeah, and
police
we
work.
track times on all priorities.
Right.
And yeah, I think the jump from P1 to P2 is probably 10 minutes.
Right.
Difference.
That's what I would guess, somewhere around there. Any other questions? Okay, nice. Your next one's gonna be much more involved with this new system.
see.
I've got a feeling.
Oh, my
Okay, so recreational vehicle oversized, well, okay, we've already done that recommendation, that's done. So now we have the public safety work plan, the unfinished business, and so I guess basically their only unfinished business is, let's see. Is there any unfinished business on any of these categories, or are we just doing the updates? Okay, there's.
Captain, or Chief, did our new person get in?
I was talking to Rick the other day. Yes, he is here,
Okay.
technically. But we've got him on a tour training with some other
that's fine,
CPS
that's fine.
throughout the county. So
Because I just want to, meet him and ask him how he wants to handle neighborhood watch.
Yeah, we communicated, and so the first possible opportunity we have to have a meeting.
we'll bring him here for the next one.
That's
for
great.
Sure. I think he'd be very interested in speaking with you guys. So
Great.
he's a
Thank
great
you.
guy.
Okay, so is there any
Yeah.
unfinished business on any of our work plan items here, besides just updates?
Maybe number 9.
What? We actually, review of urgent matters. Maybe we should talk, okay, we had the presentation on this prepared system, and we were directed to look at it by the mayor. I think maybe this would be appropriate to send the memo to the council that we have for that. And if we're in agreement that this looks like a great system that the city ought to support and actually ought to support the enhancements.
Right.
Also, what they would do, they would probably, if they get that information, I'm assuming that maybe they would be in communication with OCSD that say, we've been given this presentation and we're really, excited about having it.
You guys know, yeah.
Something like that, would that be something you think is appropriate to respond to the council?
And Chief, do you know if your folks had ordered the enhancements?
I don't know. That's the first time I've seen it. I mean, I know we got a lot of exciting stuff coming out with the new Fusion Center that's coming on board. That looks like she commented on. That's going to be up and running soon. I don't know about the enhancement.
Okay.
I would imagine. Why wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, the enhancements look good.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you're getting the rest of the program free. Let's sign on for some enhancements. But I would make that memo to the city council.
Okay, and is this something that Adam would need to write? Okay, so.
Adam would work with you, yes.
Okay, so how about if I'll make a motion that we do, that I'll contact Adam, express what I just basically said, think it's good, and he'll write it, and that will be that to submit it. Got a second, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, it's 4-0, so, perfect.
Great tool.
Who was the second?
Mike was the second.
He did pretty quick.
Okay, and did you have a presentation?
I did have, I thought we were going to go through some of the things in unfinished business. So
Oh.
I did have some in communications and disaster and e-bike, which I'm tasked with.
Which is like something new as opposed to updates? I mean,
These are updates.
Okay, so-
I don't know if it's.
Well, you
It's
can do it.
updates,
You can do it anywhere we put it. So why don't we just go on to reports of committee members and we can
okay.
do it under there? How about that?
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
No, it's-
Well, wait a minute though. That's just general. Let's go back. Hang on. Oh, we have to do it here.
We're not quite sure.
So we'll go in order. Communication disaster preparedness project update.
Can you put my slides up there? Adam was going to run them.
I don't know if I can do that because he's all logged out and I don't have his login.
Okay,
And I don't
that's
have your
impossible
slides.
then. Oh, gosh, let me see. Hang on a minute.
You can do
Go
it.
ahead for that. Well, let me pull them up here because
Okay, let's
Go
go.
to the
Want me to
next
see if I
thing.
can get,
So-
you want me to see if
Can
I
I
can
go?
get Adam?
Charlie, can't you just walk us through it?
well, no, I need some
You
help.
can see if he's available. I mean,
Yeah, he's
Otherwise,
probably up
I could do that.
asleep.
Yeah.
Waiting to
probably,
get out.
it's exactly what he's doing.
Probably needs a reason to go out. Anyway, I can go on to
Yeah, what?
the same subcommittee stuff.
Yeah, well, I was going to introduce some of the stuff you were going to say, but go ahead.
Well, you want to skip over that one, come back to it until she's
Okay.
back? That's fine, that's fine.
Okay,
Okay,
I got plenty to talk about here.
Yeah, sure. Okay, homeless and best management practices for public safety. Only thing I have is I met with new city manager down at North Beach and taking a tour of it's been an increased encampment down there, not just sleeping overnight, but, pretty much leaving their stuff there all the time. And monopolizing the bathrooms and whatever. So the city manager is taking a hard look at it. He's going to get together with code enforcement and enforce any codes that he can. Advise people first they can't leave their stuff on the beach forever. You got 24 hours to remove it, or we'll store it for you. Making the notices and all that, they're going to start doing that. I have a feeling as soon as they make notification that people move their stuff. That's just what's been happening lately, so it's okay. Also talked about redoing the swings down there at North Beach and making it more family friendly, and maybe even fencing it off and saying only kids under 15 unless and only adults unless they're accompanying a kid. I can't remember exactly how he said it. It made sense to where you can't just have a bunch of anybody, adults, just hanging around the playground. You have to be with a kid if you're there. So he's looking at doing that. And that's basically it. He seems very much wants to engage and do anything we can to increase the quality of life. And I'll work with Carly also on the engagements with the homeless here, which she's been doing a great job of. So I'd say it's status quo, except he's really excited about being here and hands-on.
Is there any discussion about the CARE Act and what the implications are here in enforcement of some of these?
Well, we did talk about the CARE Act, and the CARE Act's a great thing, except it wasn't funded, as we know, and it's a matter of getting a place where we can take people under that act, and that's not a city thing so much.
It's a county thing, yeah.
County and state thing. So it's frustrating that it wasn't funded when it was signed, but that's the way it goes. So
Unfunded mandates, I love it.
Well, yeah, they have a deadline in July this year too.
Yeah.
Unless we get fined
we'll see.
some minuscule amount of money, but
Okay, so legislation review. Scott's on vacation. We'll just put that off. There was nothing I could see. Neighborhood watch. We have a new neighborhood or a crime analyst who's
Crime
going to be
prevention
crime prevention specialist. Going to be working with our committee on the neighborhood watch plan.
Yeah.
And
We've gone through the map and we've identified the management companies for all the different HOAs. And I think it's going to be a great thing to work with the management company to get on the agendas for all of the
Yeah.
HOAs and then be able to make our presentations.
by the way, if you have any neighbors or anything that you think might be willing to participate in this, that's what I've started doing. Is my friends and neighbors have already been penciled in as block captains, whether they know it or not. But if anybody that's interested in doing that, get their contact information. So when we do start the thing up, we'll have some contacts and some neighbors. Doesn't mean they're going to have to do much, but at least a point of contact in
Right.
the neighborhood.
It's a start.
It's a start.
Are you having them go online and go through the application process?
There have been some that you can tell them they can actually go on the city website, do neighborhood watch, and they can fill out a form that says I want to participate or I want to be a block captain. And we have gotten a few trickle in. When we get the crime prevention specialist, we're going to do a media blitz with San Clemente Times. We're going to do an article, and here's what you do to do it. We'll go on Facebook. We'll hopefully the OC Sheriff's Facebook page. We'll put it up, and then we'll start getting more and more and more. But until we get your guy in place.
And he'll be in charge of all that social media you're talking about too on our side. So.
No, that's awesome. The main thing is we just want to see what he is going to do, and then what resources he needs outside of that, either staff or us to do. So when we get that defined, then we can really push into it. So, okay, statistical information and review.
Other than what we've talked about here, we don't have anything.
Okay.
There is one point, in going through it, this is a heritage from the last year on one of my tasks, is I did look through, Adam did send me the contract for the ambulance service, like he said he was going to, and I read through that, and, in there's a joint requirement, goal, whatever you want to call it, best effort to respond 90% of the time within a certain number of minutes, 7 minutes or something like that, and they are not meeting the 90% goal. So technically, they're not, really.
Then breach of contract.
It's a little gray area there, but I just wondered. I passed on to Scott, who's now on the committee, that perhaps that committee should look into that and see if the ambulance company can identify anything to kind of improve their average response time. For code 3 things, the others are fine. They get 10 minutes, and they're doing that well over 90% of the time. Yeah.
Well, a lot of that was that code 3 only response.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the problem there was
I've never been trained on this. Just saying.
But you got it up? Not way there.
Not yet.
they had a lack of ambulances and crews and all, and so the chief, the fire chief says, okay, he made a decision that everybody's going to have to go code 3. Well, unfortunately, it backfired on him. He was had to come back, which skewed all the numbers of the thing too. So that's part of the problem on that statistical report for that particular.
You need some help with that. You need to hook it to your PC probably, or
Well, and that's
We can't find the PC.
It's with the guy.
Yeah, didn't he take his laptop with him?
well, he should have brought it. Well, it should be on the city network, but how do you get to that? Can you?
You need a
well
laptop.
because yeah.
Okay. Well, let me. I'll just.
Okay, well,
We'll save the detail for next month, but I'll go through.
okay, human
what I can
trafficking.
remember.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
E-bike safety and is this where you're going to do this?
Yeah, there was one. Yeah, there were two things there, and if I recall, one of them was you sent me an article, Nick, that said San Clemente is the mecca of e-bikes.
It's ground zero.
Well, there were two of them. One is Mayhem.
Oh
and
yeah.
The other one is the mecca of e-bikes in the whole world.
Right, in the whole world. So there we go. We're world class. So
We're always on the top.
We're number one, and number one in injuries too. So
well, yeah. Let me just real quickly. Let's see. There were some statistics given too in terms of e-bike injuries, and Scott and I met and talked about this. The two things we wanted to do for this meeting was come up with a mission statement, and then I'm going to have a request for these gentlemen over here in a little bit to consider. But in one of the articles, e-bikes in 2020, Mission Hospital said they had 6 pedelec bikes. And pedelec means pedal electric scooters or something like that. Not scooters, but anyway, they're this
cycles.
Cycles, yeah, electric cycles. That's it. Okay, I'll just refer to them as e-bikes and not
That'll
make a
be fine.
distinction. Okay, because I can't say the word. But in 2020, there were only 6 injuries at Mission Hospital. 2021, it went to 113, and there were 2 deaths also in 2021. One with a helmet, one without a helmet. In 2022, there were 222 injury accidents. And if you look at the statistics breaking it down, there were like 72 injuries for kids 14 years and under, and 31 of those, 31 between 15 and 17. And what that means is about 47% of all the injuries on e-bikes are young people, 17 and younger. No deaths in 2022, though. That was one of the good things. And at least 49 injuries came out of San Clemente of the Mission Hospital area. So it's clear we want to do something. And California, in one of the charts they had, has regulations for e-bikes and all these other things. But it also has an area in there where cities can build their own ordinances to meet their unique situations. And definitely San Clemente has got unique situations. And that was one of the things Scott and I think the committee should be trying to identify just exactly what it is that makes us unique, and then bring back to the committee here to see if we should make recommendations to the city. The mission statement, I didn't memorize it, but it basically says the same thing. You know, we want to find out what these unique situations are, and then come up with things that we can recommend to the city, basically to improve the safety of people at e-bikes, and also that it's whatever we do is compatible with existing methods of travel and so forth. Because we do get pushback from other people that aren't on e-bikes about e-bikes, so they have to look at the problem from both sides. So the mission statement was done. The last thing was Scott would like to see us develop a database of e-bike incidents. And, you know, whatever, we have to define what an incident is. An incident, a violation of the beach trail, hit and run, or something like that. And what he wanted to do, or what he was advising, was we'd like to go back 6 months if we could, and maybe even from hospitals, and get the data on injuries here for people in San Clemente, basically, not, and then continue gathering that data for another 6 months. So, Nick, we have a really good idea of just what's going on, where the issues are, and so we can make some recommendations on what the city might do. So
identify the problem.
Identify the problem. So what I was trying to do is get buy-in, you know, from the captain here, and the chief.
And the fire chief is going to have to
Yeah,
be involved in
and,
it too,
yeah,
because they got responses. But we're finding, what I found on there to add on to this is that newspaper report, the hospital had a better handle on it than anybody.
Right, as far as statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we should be querying that stuff too, because the press has obviously got a, you know, insight.
Yeah, it's interesting. They obviously have a checkbox or something when there's an e-bike incident when you go to the hospital, including whether they're wearing a helmet when it happens.
Exactly.
I mean, they're keeping really good stats. We should
Early
be
in the
keeping good
morning
stats.
hours, you know, like 4 months ago, you know,
It's logged in as me and.
I need to go back and just ask.
Access to
there's
it.
like-
I slipped.
I don't know.
That's just one that I know about.
The one thing I'd like to see, and actually I probably shouldn't
All
talk
this
about
together.
you,
Yeah.
with you separate from this, but way back when, and I was a policeman, I was a policeman, whatever. I wasn't a police officer, I was a said policeman, but anyway, when bikes, when they first made it that you had to wear a helmet for bicycles, I mean, that was a brand new thing. And kids weren't doing it, and our department, LAPD, said, remember Save a Child?
Yeah.
We had to go, before we could do anything, we had to have a Save a Child. And what that meant was we had to go and fill out an FI card that we contacted a kid doing something dangerous. Well, it was climbing a tree, being up on a roof, or helmets. And we couldn't do anything, we couldn't go mess with real criminals until we got one of those down. But it actually did work. We'd stop kids, and we didn't have cell phones then, so stop a kid on a bicycle without a helmet, toss him in the back. We drove him home and said, Johnny wasn't wearing a helmet. And after about a month of that, man, all the kids were all of a sudden wearing helmets. I'd really like to see something like that here, and now you got cell phones, which is good. But you know, I was thinking, how many times does anybody see an adult riding a motorcycle without a helmet? Is that something you see very often? No. Why? Because any cop is going to stop them immediately, and that's a great moving violation. Well, kids now, they're not just bicycles at 5 miles an hour. They're riding 25-mile-an-hour bikes with a throttle that they don't even have to pedal. And I've seen a huge improvement since the summer of kids wearing helmets. It's been huge. It really has. But I'd like maybe to talk to your officers, and if they have a chance that, you know, if they see a kid without a helmet, stop and just say, hey, no problem. You know it's illegal. What's your mom's, phone number? I'm just gonna call her and let her know you're not wearing a helmet, because 99% of the time, that parent's gonna go, what? And that will take care of the problem. So,
Yeah, you're right.
so maybe there could be something, a non-official program, just maybe a little emphasis that they have a chance to do a
I don't wanna
little
make it
bit
go
of
backwards.
education, because it seems like you see the same kids that are not wearing the helmets, around the high school. So
Yeah.
maybe something, SRO maybe would be a good.
And I know our motors are doing that too. I had a conversation with Bruno the other day.
Tell Bruno it's a moving.
And
Start recapping it as a moving violation. He'll be on. Those
these
kids like-
things are area
Yeah.
specific, right? So we talked about Tlaga, for example, and he said, yeah, I've been up there, I've noticed an increase of kids wearing helmets, kids not on Surons, and I
Right.
argued with him and said, no, they're still on them because I see them.
Yeah, every now and then.
So I mean, just as e-bikes are evolving, as more people are utilizing these e-bikes, especially kids, kind of like your example with motorcycles and helmets, I think it is catching on. Just we're kind of lagging.
Yeah.
There's that time period where
Well, it's
parents
a
are like-
bicycle. It's not that big a deal. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and absolutely, that's the wrong attitude to have, because
Now.
like you mentioned, doing 30 miles an hour with those kids, not realizing they need more time to stop, more time to react.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into
It's
it.
it's purely an educational thing, but just something we
It
should
is.
keep just emphasizing. Then
And a lot of times that's through enforcement, right?
Right, exactly.
And I know it's being done, but there's, we operate under policy of the sheriff's department, so a lot of things that we do have to be within the policy of the entire department, not just San Clemente, right?
Sure.
So, and you guys understand that. So basically it's about the word, getting out there, do enforcement, do education.
Yeah.
And they're getting that from me, because I know it's such a hot topic here in San Clemente.
Yeah.
So, and you said something, Chief. If it's west of the railroad tracks, it's yours, and if it's east of the railroad tracks, it's OCSD. Is that the way you read it?
We were talking about a medical rate,
Okay.
medical,
Okay.
right? So it depends on the time of year. I mean, if it's accommodating, we have enough staffing, I can send someone up to North Beach on the east side of the tracks on the beach trail. It all depends, but for the most part, we would be responding west of the railroad tracks, primary,
Right.
right? So, but if it's on the east side, and it depends, if it's a Monday where it's not accommodated, there's 3 of us, and it's up at North Beach.
I just wondered, who would enforce the e-bike on the
Well,
trail?
definitely on the east side of the tracks, that's all park rangers, code enforcement, sheriffs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I go down to the El Portal stores a lot, and I'm still seeing. And the one thing that really bugs me is I've seen a lot of young girls. Like
Okay, no,
12, 13-year-old girls.
Slow down now.
And they're wearing helmets that are not helmets. They couldn't protect them if they're twice the size, but they're pink and they've got little flowers. So I don't know whether we can enforce a real helmet law with people. But I wouldn't want, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't want her wearing that thing riding an e-bike, and they're riding tandem, and there's 2 of them.
I think the state law says they have to have it if they're under 16. And if you're even over 18 and you're in a more powerful one, like more than 750.
Well, surrounds are completely.
They're completely-
But a Class C, you have to be 16, and whatever. You can't even ride a Class C bike.
I think,
gotta
there's
be
class
16.
1, 2, and 3.
Or 3,
The
I said
first 2,
C.
anyway. Yeah.
So you want to do your
Yeah,
All right.
I don't want to take too much time up here and go through all this, but so Nick and I have been working, and Scott mainly, and some of the things we had, and I thought Nick you want to talk about the Red Cross, the food supply, and the wireless priority service and the government emergency telecommunications. We spent a lot of time with the Department of Homeland Security on just what that is. So I'm going to let you run with the ball here. I've got some slides on. There's the wireless priority system. But basically, if you're involved with emergency operations within any government organization or anything at all, you need to use your cell phone, you can get priority from through this system, WPS. So that just kind of shows what it's like. It's cell phones, and they have another one called the Government Emergency Telecommunication Service, GETS, but that's for landlines, so you can get that. So if you don't have 800 megahertz communication system, you can do this. these sorts of things, and it looks like a really good thing. What we found was San Clemente is already registered with that. And we do, I think we should get the GETS thing also. And I'm gonna let you take it from here, Nick, because what we did is kind of find out what it took to do it. So why don't you go ahead and
Well,
it's a situation where we stand.
it was an interesting thing when the disaster hits. Everybody jams onto the phones to call their neighbors, call their friends, and all that, and it shuts down. It's gridlock basically, and so they have to shed all these people off the system. And one of the ways to do that is prioritize public safety, loosely said, to the public safety that have been qualified, designated, will have a number where they will be able to get access. They punch in an access code and they'll have priority over just common calls. That happens in the cell phone. In another system, same thing. The GETS, it's for landlines, and so so public safety can actually talk on that, and that's a federal program. And anyway, we talked to the guy from Homeland Security, and he says, yeah, the point person is Sean Joyce. I says, well, he's out, so we've got to get this thing all together. Now, we're put it on until Kyle gets back from his paternity leave, and we'll get him clued in on this thing, make sure that we got the new city manager as the main contact. And then, so police, fire, a number of folks in the city can be qualified to do this. So that's another thing that Charlie came up with on the thing, and it was quite interesting.
So this is really emphasizes the recovery phase of the disaster. It's not so much before or during, it's when we're trying to take care of things and everybody's on a system. They're on their cell phones, they're on their landlines, you can't get through. But public safety's got to move food, emergency supply, medical aid, that sort of thing. This allows them to get through with very high probability on their cell phones. And we would recommend the mayor, Kyle Kroger, and whoever he would be the point of contact that would have the authority to designate to the government that these people can then sign up. And all major mobile systems and landline systems adhere to this. The government is told them you have to do this. So if you have an AT&T phone, Verizon phone, T-Mobile, it doesn't matter. They're all part of this system. So we need to get Kyle, when he gets back from paternity leave, we'll mention it to him and get him working on it. We think this is really, really important, and the city already has it. Okay, let me go to the next. Let's see, what else? Well, there's my mission statement. I'm so proud of that. But, yeah.
Well, give me a second to read it here.
Okay.
It's good.
Good. Anyway, so we have a mission. Now we have to figure out how to do it. Quickly, I won't go through these. These are just the e-bike classes we've been talking about. And Callie, if you at the bottom there, it says e-bikes shouldn't have more than a motor with 750 watts. Well, 746 watts happens to be 1 horsepower. So that's how they pick 750 watts. The e-bike shouldn't have more than 1 horsepower. And frankly, that 1 horsepower is pretty good, unless you're extremely overweight or something. It'll get you up and down the hills in San Clemente. Otherwise, you just have to pedal a little harder. Okay. There's the California, basically most of the e-bike laws, they're there. There's some about alcoholism or drinking alcohol and so forth as well. These aren't all of them. And then the bottom is your helmet requirements if you're looking at class 1 and 2, under 18 must wear a helmet. And class 3, period, you have, and class 3 you have to be 16 years old, so you have to wear a helmet. So the laws exist. I guess the San Clemente doesn't have to pass an ordinance saying you have to wear, but we do need it enforced. Okay, and this was the one I wanted to get to. This was the database that Scott and I would like to establish so we can get our arms around the problem. That's what basically the first bullet says up there. And then the second bullet says that once we have that, we can actually come up with something to address some of those issues. And on the bottom, we really need help from you guys over here, the law enforcement, the ocean safety and Orange County Fire Authority, park rangers, hospitals. Yet we have to look at all those things. So that's kind of where we're headed, Rick, as far as a committee. So we'll have more next month. I think that's the end of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for getting those charts up too. That was
Nice job.
Yeah.
Never would have been.
Yay!
Rockstar.
Okay, on to technology review.
You know what? Chris Duncan's got more of a handle on technology than we do. We're looking for new things coming out, and he came up with this Prepare 911 thing. I'm going, oh, okay. Sweet.
Somebody bought him a cocktail, I guarantee it. That's how this whole thing started. Yeah. So, but it all worked
It's
out.
a vendor, yeah.
Okay, so then we talked about the review of urgent matters, and I'm going to get together with Adam and have him write a memo to the city council on that Prepare 911. So now we're on to reports of committee members and staff. Police services.
This goes back into, I don't remember who asked the question about reserves, being able to
I
cite
did.
on the trail for e-bikes.
That was me, yeah.
Oh, well,
Okay.
yeah.
I did talk to Captain Doherty in our mutual aid, who runs the reserve program. He said, absolutely. So my plan is maybe when we hit the summer months or closer to it, getting a group of reserves to come down, we'll train them up on what we're looking for, type of sites we want issued, and we're going to station them on the bike trail.
So reserves can be deployed from different cities. They're not just city specific.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so a San Juan reserve could come down and work a
Correct.
task force on that.
Correct.
Oh, that's really great.
So he said, just let me know what you need. We get a group together, provide a little bit of training for them, what we're wanting to do. We can stash them out on the beach trail and do some education and some citations.
That
for
would be
e-bikes.
the perfect
So-
job for them.
I thought that was a
Because
great
we
question
we
last
get-
time. And
Yeah, we get emails all the time, and like we're going to do a cabaret on the Art Walk or Venice Beach, and how many reserves want to show up, and it's just like a flock, man.
Yeah, because
it's a great resource without spending additional money to have
Yeah.
the reserves come down. And I think, frankly, they'd love to be out here doing that kind of stuff.
And we get paid like $1.75 an hour. Come on.
exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
We're in it for the money,
They
brother.
talk about the senior volunteers, and that's not the job of the senior volunteers to be
No,
up
it's
in
not.
any kind of enforcement.
Yeah.
So that'll be great. So if we could get it geared up for
Yeah.
like June, maybe
Yep.
start to
Definitely
do it,
will.
that would be awesome.
There was also a question about e-bikes and what we're able to track with accidents. I did talk to our crime analyst. She was able to go in and pull out some e-bike collision stats just based on involved with other vehicles. So I do have that general information for you if you're interested. I'm sure you probably are. We had in 2022 41 accidents, collisions involving e-bikes. 41 total, 29 involving e-bikes and 11 are just regular bikes. Again, these are bicycles or e-bikes involved with motor vehicles. So she had no other way to track any other e-bike specific stats for us.
Was that just this year or what?
That was 2022.
2022.
And that was January to December 31st.
Calendar.
Not our
Not
fiscal.
fiscal.
Yeah.
Now, Captain Milan points out that we did have a death on an e-bike last year.
We did. We had one fatal and it was a motor vehicle versus
La
e-bike.
Plata.
And there was alcohol involved on the decedent. Apparently,
I think it's an open case still. I know it's an open case, yeah. I obviously can't really
right.
attest to much of it, but yeah, there's suspected alcohol involved. I think maybe both ways.
Right, yeah, exactly. It was at 2:30 in the morning, and yeah, so.
Nothing good ever happens after midnight.
No. Remember my mom used to tell me that.
Gotcha.
I'm telling my kids that now. And just a little update, just so you guys are aware, we had a couple weeks ago 7 units vandalized here while they were parked here at the station.
What kind of
All in
vandalism?
one night, tires popped. So, just, you know, I know as Tony left here, hey, we're supposed to have a security gate around this from police services. I can't think of a better time to, let's try to get the security gate in place here. Yeah, it did delay us in response to the pier fire. We showed up a couple hours late because we didn't have units to get down there.
Jesus.
So.
Have you got security cameras out there?
We do. Found out that because of storage, that city didn't have the sensitivity dialed in correctly.
So you're not going to see guys in a black hoodie out there?
You see a figure in wearing dark clothing. Can't make
A lot of
any sort
good that was.
identification.
Yeah.
And just prior to this, a couple days prior, there was an incident where a guy came up to the station, was acting erratic. Deputies tried to stop him. He didn't stop, and ended up in a pursuit into Dana Point. He was a local transient from Dana Point. Dana Point deputies recognized him. And
Was it a stolen car?
No, it's in his own vehicle.
Oh.
So we suspect it's the same guy that came back because he didn't like the police and the way they were handling business, but we have no proof to be able to say it's him. So that's just a little update from police services.
Wrote a search warrant for the ice pick in his car.
Real quick, the flock cameras is.
So flock cameras, and Tony also thought that phase 2 had already been approved by the city council. Apparently it hasn't. I know it was on the agenda last meeting, they got pulled, so it wasn't even discussed.
Yeah.
So we are basically operating with half the city monitored with cameras.
But they are active.
Half of them are.
Has there been any hits or use?
Oh yeah, they're being utilized all the time. They're great tools.
Okay, could next meeting, could you bring back that information here, like some kind of general synopsis of, hey, a stolen car was gotten,
In
or
fact, some of this was put into the staff report for the agendized item to get phase 2 up and running. Again, it got pulled off the agenda, so it wasn't even discussed at the last council meeting.
Well, it's going to come back for sure.
Yeah, it is. We're going to
I'm sorry.
force it.
The one meeting I don't go to, and that's all. So it's all on
It was
me.
very quiet because you weren't there.
Well, oh, that hurts.
The shoe fits.
You'd be falling asleep if I wasn't there. Matter of fact, I'll bet.
We got done rather early.
Yeah, I know that was nice.
So, I mean, I'd like to see it up and running.
Yeah,
We got half the city covered.
we will do some work on that for sure.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Good.
All right.
And that's all I have to report.
All right, fire services. Chief Mall has to speak twice as long next meeting. Tell us about it. Tell us about his Pennsylvania trip or whatever it was. Marine safety.
All right. Well, you might have seen a little bit more activity with lifeguards on the beach on the weekend. We had our first research class, so there were about 20 returning lifeguards. They do a weekend, so 18 hours. Everyone goes through 18 hours of recertification. And this coming weekend starts our rookie training class, and we have 12 in that. So they go 5 consecutive weekends. So you'll see a bunch of trainees running up and down in the water. Pretty stoked to have those kids in there. The inclement weather that we've had is just ongoing. We've had to move one of the towers in fear of the high tides and surf and whatnot. The air temperature's been down to 41. It's freezing.
The water's
water
warmer.
temperature down to water temperature is down to 53. We've had since our last meeting. We've had 2 pier jumpers. Just one on Saturday was issued a citation. The one prior to that was 2 Sundays ago during the President's weekend. I'm known to be playing beach volleyball. If you walk the beach trail, you might see me there. Noticed that there was something going on at the end of the pier. Said, hey, I gotta leave. Went and grabbed my fins and off duty and ran out there, and we had one lifeguard in the water, Harbor Patrol boat there, 61.
And he was fully clothed, right?
He was 61 years old, yeah. Jacket,
Goodness.
shoes.
Just fell off the side.
No, he jumped.
He jumped. Yeah.
He jumped. He gave his rental keys to a citizen on the pier. So I jumped in, and eventually a third lifeguard jumped in and got him on the boat, and took a boat ride down to the harbor.
Yeah, the sheriff's boat was there pretty quick, weren't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
for coming so far.
Were you on the pier?
No, I just heard.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So we.
I didn't push anybody off the pier.
So I'm making up my 17 minutes here.
I got
So,
the deal.
emergency off duty, right? So we took him to the harbor. He was going to be taken to the hospital for a 72-hour watch, but I was walking the dog on the beach trail and saw him the next afternoon. So so he was out. What else is
Good for you.
What else is here? With the rain this past Friday, a week ago, or on this past Friday, it was raining cats and dogs, as you guys know. I had a immunity violation and contacted a homeless person down towards the Hole, which is south of T Street, kind of a known place for encampments. Talked to the individual and asked him if he needed some services. And he said, yeah. And I said, let me give a call to the homeless liaison. And he said, please don't do that. And I said, well, is there someone else that I can reach out to? And he said, yeah, can you call my mom? The guy was like 40 years old. So I called his mom, and she came down. She was lost, but I was able to connect them both. And he got services. So I need to tell Adam so he can add that to the account.
Yeah, Carlene. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was last Friday. Let's see what else. As the chief mentioned about the fire at the base of the pier, there's been some vandalism down there. The fire at the base of the pier. My understanding is that restaurant's going to be closed for a longer duration than I think any of us would want. And then also this past week, a palapa was burned between the Trafalgar Bridge and the pier. Also, the restrooms at Linda Lane were broken into a couple different times. So it seems to be kind of an ongoing thing with this happening. So I don't know if obviously this is happening in the after hours. If we can have it like maybe a deputy just patrol down the access road at certain times, or just spot here and there just to kind of deter that activity.
Yeah, I mean, the main station ought to be a patrol check for sheriffs also, if they can go down cruise,
Yeah. So it just seemed, and I was wondering if because maintenance goes out there and they do their, repairs, and if that connection is being made to, without asking questions, if that connection is being made to our sheriff's partners, us, and being aware of all those things happening, where we can pass that message on and kind of maybe change our routines a little bit to kind of deter that activity.
That's a good idea.
But
Do you think this is related to the homeless issue, that these fires are being set accidentally by homeless people, or you think it's really vandalism and it's
I can't
kids?
read.
Yeah.
They're doing an
I know
investigation.
the pier bathroom one is still under investigation from the CFA. Initially, we were told there was no arson suspected, but I think that might have changed. I'm not sure.
I think I heard there was some accelerant, the possibility. I'm not sure though. Let's see here. I talked about North Beach medicals, a couple of those OCFA responded to. This Saturday, the Downtown Business Club is having their 5K and 10K. That will be run along the beach trail and up Victoria and through Del Mar and turn back down. So I think you're probably aware with some of the street closures that's happening on Saturday. Start time is 6:45. I think they're expecting up to 300 participants on that. Thanks to Rick for the $3,200 that was awarded to the Marine Safety for a new drone. So
Just open up my wallet. That's what kind of guy I am.
Yeah.
And the friends of the St. Lenny. So thank you very much for that. JG swim tests are happening. So if you know some young folks that are 9 to 17.
Curran Brooks, Michelle Brooks' son, is freaking out. He's working out, trying to do it, and he's really stressed about it. So you might want to give him a head start.
Do they have restart the watch late?
Yeah. So you can do another test that
Real
day
slow push.
or another swim
I was
test.
thinking, if you did it last year and loved it, do they?
No, you pass the swim test once, and you're good for the following year as well.
But you can be part of the program for the second year.
You do have to sign up though.
Oh.
It's registration. Last year we filled all 840 spots with less than a minute.
Yeah.
There are some changes coming through. So
And they talked about making San Clemente residents get an extra 10 minutes or something to register.
yeah,
or something
there's
like
stuff
that.
in the works. I don't want to make an announcement until
No,
that is
that's
finalized. Yeah, that's it for marine safety.
Do you know about, I was down at the North Beach at 8 o'clock in the morning. You know about that Polar Bear Dave guy or whatever that lives in permanent supportive housing on Las Bolas? He goes, I'm standing there now, here's this guy, he walks down, strips off his clothes and jumps into the ocean, you know, and this is on Monday morning, and it was really cold, and he goes strokes around. He didn't look like he was in that good a shape, and one of the homeless dudes go, oh, yeah, that's Polar Bear Dave. I go, what? He goes, yeah, every day he goes out there. I'm just saying, man, if you guys are up cruising around 8 o'clock, you know, you cruise by there. I mean, he looks like a drowning waiting to happen.
And what time was that? Because
8 o'clock.
Yeah, well, we come on at 8, and I would say probably more than 3/4 times of the day you can't even get around the point. The only way
Right.
we could get around the point is go to the east side of the tracks on an ATV on the beach trail. So that takes us away from.
Just saying, when you find the body, it's Polar Bear Dave.
Yeah.
You'll know
Y'all know
it's
who it
Polar
is.
Bear Day.
Polar Bear.
Okay, so comments now. We'll go to any comments.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief, by the way. That is a cool comment.
Ready?
Anything there?
Yes.
Okay.
CERT training has been announced. I saw it in the BPR brochure. It's for April 12th is the start, and it will end with a drill on May 20th. And that's one of those things that's very important to the community and a good recruiting tool through Neighborhood Watch. Okay. Tsunami presentation was postponed. It was supposed to be today from the Cal OES, Office of
This
Emergency
is Tsunami
Services.
Week, isn't it?
This is Tsunami Month, I think.
Oh, month.
March.
Yeah.
So we couldn't postpone it until for next month, March, because
Oh, March is Tsunami.
the last week of March is
The drill.
the Tsunami Preparedness Week, okay? So I've got them booked for April, our April meeting. In the meantime, I got a call from state, another guy that works for the state, and he would like to help us put on a tsunami walk. And what that is an informational thing. What is a tsunami and how important it is, and what causes tsunamis and things. We have a community meeting, probably it's somewhere like the pier or North Beach or someplace, and part of that thing is actually walking from the beach area to the safe spot for that area. How far up do you go? How far, all that. That's what the tsunami walk's about. Very positive. It doesn't have to be this particular week, March 27th through the 31st. It could be in the summer, whatever, but it's a nice emergency preparedness thing. And I'm working with, I've approached Samantha Wiley, our director of BPR, to partner with us. And they put on these things too. So I think we'll know more about that as we move along. So that's.
Do you think we're going to need any security or anything? I mean, is it going to be a traffic hazard or like?
No, it's a sidewalk thing.
Just like a group neighborhood event thing.
Yeah.
It won't be that big.
Don't need to stop traffic during that.
No.
Single file.
Of course, if there's a real tsunami, nobody's going to be.
Every man for himself.
Grab your surfboard.
But yeah, we're just moving right along here, and we'll wait for Kyle to come back so I can coordinate some other things like getting the Red Cross to do the survey of the evacuation centers that we've kind of identified, and to sign a contract with Abound Food Care for food insecurity for the community. That's another great program that's going along too. So we're moving along.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, Charles?
Nick does an awful lot, let me tell you. Give you a big hand here, yeah, appreciate all that.
Yeah.
And the tsunami walk, that's gonna be fun.
That will be.
I volunteered to help with that, so.
Okay. Hey, can I ask a question?
Surely.
Would it be possible at one of the CERT trainings for us to just show up and do a neighborhood watch plug before they start their class or after the class?
I'm sure that can be happen. I don't coordinate that. That's through Beaches Parks and all that, but I'm sure they would just be more than happy to be part of that, because integral part of Neighborhood Watch is CERT, and CERT's an integral part of Neighborhood Watch. If we can pull them together and coordinate them, that'd be wonderful. So I'll be talking to Samantha, and we'll mention that.
Just that kind of fits in, and
Sure.
just give them the bug and say, here's who you call, and we'd love to work with you.
Yeah, the other thing that the CERT training's in Dana Point. It's Dana Point Community Center. They haven't announced anything locally, so that's something else to look at.
Okay, well, all I've got, thank you for all your participation. We got some good stuff done today. So one of these days we're going to get done before 5. One of these days, today wasn't the day. So any staff?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so.
Good job.
Yay!
Thank you for coming in as a proxy.
Oh, my pleasure.
I like it.
I didn't know your name was Proxy.
So we need a motion for adjournment. What's the fourth Tuesday of March?
28th.
March 28th.
March 28th.
Got one
You wanna
question.
make a motion, or you
No,
want?
no,
Oh,
no,
I'd like to
I can't make a motion, but I do want to suggest that if we get this fancy new system whereby cell phones can take pictures, and we hand them out to all the reserves and to all the RSVPs, and we station them every 420 feet along the beach trail, and any idiot 12 years old comes through at 25 miles an hour, hold it up, give
Yeah, that's
his
not a bad
face,
idea.
and turn it in as a report, and all of a sudden, your numbers are going to go through the roof.
Who has to be the caller on that?
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's. I think. I mean, if we can get the reserves out there, the real reserve cops out there, I think we're gonna, because they'll stop people to write tickets. We won't have to video them.
But the nice thing about RSVPs is that
Oh.
if you get the guy's video, I mean, it's a force multiplier.
Yeah, yeah. There's probably some application to that.
And there are some jerks.
So I'll make a
Would you make a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adjourn to our next regular meeting of the Public Safety Committee on Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 3 p.m. in City Hall Council Chambers.
All right, there you go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hey,